You have to understand something most people never even think about. The way you talk to yourself is everything. Every single thought, every word you repeat in your mind, every story you tell yourself, that's what's building your life. It's not luck. It's not motivation. It's not waiting for the right moment. It's the dialogue that's running on loop inside your head every single day. Here's the truth. Your brain listens to everything you say. It believes you. And if all you're feeding it is doubt, negativity, and fear, then that's exactly what you're going to experience. But here's the good news. You can interrupt that pattern. You can take control of the conversation you're having with yourself. You can shift from self-sabotage to self-leadership. And it starts with being intentional about what you say to yourself, starting the moment you wake up. The reason this matters so much is because your self-talk shapes your decisions. It shapes your mood. It shapes your confidence. Your entire experience of life is filtered through the beliefs you carry. And those beliefs are constantly being reinforced by your words. You get to choose whether those beliefs lift you up or tear you down. But you have to be conscious about it. You have to decide that your mind is your responsibility. I want you to think about the last time you felt stuck or overwhelmed. Maybe it was this morning. Maybe it's every morning. What were you telling yourself? I can't do this. I'm not ready. What's the point? Those aren't facts. They're scripts. And the problem is, if you keep running those scripts long enough, they start to feel like your truth. But they're not. They're just habits, mental habits. And just like any habit, they can be changed. Here's the science behind this. Your brain is constantly building and reinforcing neural pathways. Every time you repeat a thought, you're strengthening that pathway, making it more automatic. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm not good enough, that thought becomes the default. But if you start saying, I've got this, or I can figure this out, or I'm doing my best, and that's enough, you build new pathways. You literally start to rewire your brain to work for you instead of against you. This isn't just motivational fluff. This is neuroscience. It's how behavior and thought patterns are created. So if you want to change how you feel, you start by changing what you say. You don't wait to feel confident. You say something that builds confidence. You don't wait to feel ready. You tell yourself, let's go, and you move. Now I get it. This takes effort. It's not natural at first, especially if you've been stuck in negative self-talk for years. But the beauty of the human brain is that it adapts. That's neuroplasticity. You train it just like a muscle. And every day is a new chance to choose better thoughts, to build a better story, to tell yourself the truth, not the fear, not the excuses, but the truth about who you are and what you're capable of. Let me tell you something I say to myself every single morning. You're in control now. That's my anchor. Because when I say that, I remember that I don't have to be ruled by emotion. I don't have to follow fear. I don't have to believe every thought I think. I can step in. I can lead myself, and so can you. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. But you do need to show up for yourself. You need to stop tearing yourself down from the inside. Because if you don't back yourself, who will? If you don't speak life into your dreams, who will? If you don't remind yourself that you're strong, capable, resilient, then your brain will default to the doubt. It will default to fear, and you deserve better than that. So here's the bottom line. Your words are powerful. Use them wisely. Every day, tell yourself something that moves you forward, something that grounds you, something that reminds you of your strength, your purpose, and your potential. Because the life you want, it starts with the way you talk to yourself every single day. That's the secret weapon most people overlook when it comes to changing their mindset. If you want to create real, lasting change in your life, you have to understand how your brain works, and repetition is at the heart of it. Your brain is designed to learn through patterns. It's constantly looking for shortcuts, for ways to make your life easier by turning repeated behaviors into automatic habits. That's called neuroplasticity, and it's one of the most powerful tools you have. Let's break it down. Every time you think a thought or take an action, your brain fires off a neural connection. The more often you repeat that thought or action, the stronger the connection becomes. Eventually, your brain doesn't even have to think about it. It becomes automatic. That's how habits are formed. That's how routines are built. And that's exactly why repeating positive, intentional self-talk every day isn't just motivational. It's transformational. You're literally training your brain to think in a new way. Now think about what's been repeated in your mind for years. For most people, it's negative. It's the critical voice, the self-doubt, the I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, no one takes me seriously kind of thoughts. You didn't consciously choose those thoughts, but they got repeated. Maybe from things people said to you, maybe from failures, maybe from fear, and now they feel like facts. But they're not facts. They're just well-practiced lies. And the good news is that you can override them. You can literally rewire your brain with new thoughts, new language, and new beliefs. But it takes repetition. This is why it's not enough to say something positive to yourself once and expect to feel different. That's not how your brain works. You've got years, maybe decades of repeated negativity to undo. And that's okay, because the moment you commit to doing the work, to showing up daily and telling yourself a better story, the shift begins. It doesn't happen all at once, but it does happen, one intentional thought at a time. Imagine waking up every morning and starting your day by saying, I am in control of my choices. At first, it might feel weird. Maybe you don't believe it. That's normal, but you say it anyway. Every day, you anchor it into your morning, and slowly, your brain starts to recognize that pattern. It starts to believe it. The more you repeat it, the more natural it becomes. And one day, something happens. You're in a situation where you normally react with stress or fear, but instead you pause. You take a breath. And without even thinking, that phrase comes to mind. I am in control of my choices. And you respond instead of react. That's not an accident. That's neuroplasticity in action. The same goes for any affirmation that speaks to the kind of person you want to become. I can handle this. I'm getting better every day. My dreams matter. These aren't just words, they're tools, and when you use them with repetition, they reshape your mindset, your confidence, and your actions. But you've got to say them like you mean them. You've got to say them with intention, not just once a week, not just when you feel good, every single day. There's this myth that if you say affirmations but don't believe them, they don't work. That's false. You're not doing this to trick yourself. You're doing this to build belief, and belief is built through repetition. You didn't wake up one day with self-doubt. It was built over time. So is confidence. So is courage. So is clarity. You earn those things through consistent, intentional practice. Let me tell you something you need to hear. Your brain is not your enemy. It's not trying to sabotage. It's just doing what it's been trained to do. And that means you have the power to retrain it. But you have to show up every day. You have to be deliberate about what you say, how you say it, and how often you repeat it. Repetition is how you take control of your mindset. It's how you break the old patterns and create new ones. It's how you go from thinking, I can't, to knowing, I will. So don't just say something positive once and expect a miracle. Say it until it becomes your truth. Say it until it becomes automatic. Say it until your brain rewires itself to match the future you're creating. Because when you harness the power of repetition, you don't just change what you think, you change who you become. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's not some magical trait that only a few lucky people have. Confidence is a skill. Just like riding a bike, just like learning a new language, just like building muscle in the gym, it can be developed, practiced, and strengthened over time. And the way you train this skill starts with how you talk to yourself every single day. We live in a world that makes you believe that confidence comes after you succeed, after you lose the weight, after you get the job, after you prove something. But that's backwards. Real confidence comes before the result. It's not the outcome that creates confidence. It's the belief that you can handle whatever comes next. And that belief is built through action, through repetition, and through how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Let's be real. You're not always going to feel confident. You're not always going to feel ready. And that's okay, because confidence isn't about feeling ready. It's about choosing to show up anyway. Every time you tell yourself, I can figure this out, or I don't have to know everything to start, or I've done hard things before, and I can do this too. You're building the mental foundation that confidence stands on. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for confidence to show up before they take action. But confidence doesn't work that way. It's built through action, not before it. You act first. You step into the unknown. You push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then you prove to yourself that you're capable. That's how you gain confidence. It's a loop. Action creates evidence, and evidence builds belief. The more often you do something hard, the more your brain starts to understand that you can handle discomfort, that you won't break, that you're stronger than you think. But none of that happens if you keep waiting to feel confident first. And this is where self-talk comes in. Because every time you face something uncomfortable or unfamiliar, your brain will look for reasons to back away. That's its job, to keep you safe, to keep things familiar. But safety doesn't equal growth. If you want to grow, you have to override the fear-based thinking with intentional, empowering self-talk. That's how you lead yourself through the fear. That's how you practice confidence. Confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger with use. Think about someone who's great at public speaking. You might think they're just a natural. No, they've practiced, they've failed, they've stumbled through speeches, but they didn't give up. They talked themselves through the nerves, through the fear, through the doubt. And every time they got back up, they added another layer of confidence. You can do the same in any area of your life, your career, your relationships, your goals, but only if you stop telling yourself you're not the kind of person who can. You are. You just haven't practiced enough yet. So what do? You start small. You speak to yourself with intention. You remind yourself that confidence is not about perfection. It's about progress. You say things like, I'm learning, or this is new, and that's okay. Or I don't need to be perfect to be proud of myself. These aren't fluffy affirmations. They are mental tools. They reframe fear into growth. You need to catch yourself in those moments when you're spiraling and ask, what am I saying to myself right now? Is it helping me or hurting me? That question alone can change everything. Because once you're aware of your inner dialogue, you can redirect it. You can choose better words. Words that stabilize you instead of shake you. Words that calm your system instead of flooding it with stress. This is especially important in moments of high pressure when you're about to speak in front of a group, have a hard conversation, or make a big decision. If your self-talk is filled with doubt, your emotions will reflect that. But if you anchor yourself in empowering phrases like, I've prepared for this, or I can do hard things, or even just breathe, stay grounded, you give yourself a shot at showing up as your best self, even when your nerves kick in. And let's not forget, this doesn't just affect how you feel. Your emotional state affects how you interact with everyone around you. When you manage your inner dialogue, you show up more present, more confident, and more compassionate. That ripple effect changes your relationships, your work, and your impact. So don't underestimate the power of what you say to yourself. Your words are tools. They can either build you up or break you down. And you get to choose which ones you use. Every single day, you have the opportunity to set the tone of your emotional life, not by controlling everything around you, but by controlling the one thing you can, your words. Speak to yourself like someone who matters. Because you do. And the way you feel starts with the way you talk. The way you frame a situation determines how you experience it. That's not just a mindset trick. It's a powerful psychological truth. It's called cognitive framing, and it shapes how your brain interprets events, setbacks, challenges, and even your own capabilities. You are constantly framing your experiences, whether you realize it or not. The problem is, most people are doing it unconsciously. They're letting fear, past failures, or other people's opinions dictate how they see what's happening. But when you learn to consciously frame things in a way that empowers you, everything changes. Your mood, your decisions, your behavior, and your results. Here's the deal. Your brain is like a giant filter. It can't possibly process everything happening around you, so it uses shortcuts to determine what's important. That shortcut is the frame you're using. If you frame a challenge as a threat, your brain activates a stress response. It narrows your focus, spikes your anxiety, and pushes you into survival mode. But if you frame that same challenge as an opportunity to grow, your brain shifts into problem-solving mode. You stay calmer, more open-minded, more focused. It's the exact same situation, but two totally different outcomes, depending on how you frame it. Let's say you're about to take on something new. Maybe you've been asked to lead a project, give a presentation, or step into a bigger role. If your frame is "I'm not ready for this," you'll feel insecure. You'll second guess yourself. You'll hesitate. But if your frame is "This is a chance to grow and I'll learn as I go," you show up differently. You'll still feel nervous, but you'll also feel capable. You'll tap into courage, not fear. The external situation didn't change. The way you talked about it to yourself did. This is why self-talk matters so much. Your inner dialogue is how you create your frame. When you catch yourself saying things like, "This always happens to me," or "I'll probably fail," or "I can't handle this," you're choosing a frame of defeat. That frame leads to resignation, avoidance, or burnout. But when you interrupt that thought and say something like, "This is temporary," or "I can find a solution," or "one step at a time," you're choosing a frame of resilience. That frame activates your strengths instead of your fears. It's important to understand that framing doesn't mean denying reality. You're not pretending things are easy when they're not. You're not ignoring the fact that life can be hard. What you're doing is choosing a frame that helps you respond with clarity and strength. It's the difference between reacting emotionally and responding intentionally. Life is going to throw challenges your way, that's guaranteed. But how you frame those challenges is entirely up to you. Let me give you a powerful example. Two people lose their job. One person frames it as "I'm a failure. This is the worst thing that could happen." The other frames it as "This is my chance to find something better and take control of my career." Who do you think moves forward faster? Who learns from the experience? Who bounces back stronger? It's not about who had more skills. It's about who chose the more empowering frame. And this applies to your daily life too. Running late? You can frame it as a disaster and spiral into stress, or you can frame it as a moment to breathe and reset before diving into the day. Got rejected? No. You can frame it as proof that you're not good enough, or as a sign that you're one step closer to the right opportunity. Your frame becomes your experience, and your experience becomes your life. Here's the challenge. You've got to start listening to your thoughts and asking yourself, is this frame helping me or hurting me? That one question can disrupt a negative spiral. It can bring you back to the present. It can shift your energy from powerless to powerful. And the more often you do this, the more natural it becomes. Just like a muscle, reframing is something you can build through repetition. So don't let your default frame run your life. Don't let fear, doubt, or negativity be the lens you view everything through. Take control of the frame. Choose words that give you strength. Choose a perspective that fuels action instead of avoidance. Choose to believe that you have more power than you think, because you do. The way you frame your world shapes the way you live in it. And that, right there, is where your real power lies. Most people go through life reacting to everything around them, reacting to circumstances, to other people's opinions, to fear, to doubt. They live on autopilot, letting the outside world dictate how they feel and what they do. But the truth is, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to be a passenger in your own life. You have a choice, and that choice is one of the most powerful things you own. The choice to focus on what you can control. When life feels overwhelming, when nothing seems to be going your way, when you're facing setbacks or uncertainty, the fastest way to reclaim your power is to zoom in on what's actually within your control. And here's the thing, there is always something. You may not be able to control what someone says to you. You can't control the job market or the weather or the fact that plans sometimes fall apart, but you can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control what you say, how you respond, how you show up, and what you choose to believe about yourself. That may not sound flashy, but it's everything. It's the foundation of emotional strength. When you focus on what you can control, you stop wasting energy on the things you can't. You stop spiraling. You stop blaming. You stop waiting for the world to make you feel okay. Instead, you take ownership of your thoughts, your actions, and your next step. And that's where progress lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to control everything. We all do it. We think if we can just manage all the moving pieces, if we can get everyone to like us, if we can avoid every mistake or setback, then we'll finally feel safe. But that's an illusion. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more anxious and frustrated you feel. And the more you release the things that are outside of your control, the more calm and focused you become. Let's take an example. You're working on a goal, and it's taking longer than expected. You don't control how fast things move. You don't control other people's timelines or decisions. But you do control whether or not you show up today. You control whether you complain or commit. You control whether you talk yourself out of trying or you remind yourself why you started. That control, that internal decision, is where transformation begins. When you shift your focus from outcomes to effort, from what you don't have to what you can do, you gain momentum. You start to trust yourself more. You stop waiting for permission or perfect conditions. You start to build resilience because you realize that you're not at the mercy of everything around you. You are the constant in the chaos. You are the one choosing how to think, how to act, how to lead yourself through the hard stuff. And it's not just about action, it's about mindset. You can't always control your first thought, but you can control your second one. You can catch yourself thinking, I'll never figure this out, and replace it with, I'm going to take it one step at a time. You can feel overwhelmed and still say to yourself, I've done hard things before. I can do this too. That's emotional discipline. That's strength. That's you being the kind of person who leads yourself even when things feel uncertain. This is what separates people who move forward from people who stay stuck. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's the ability to focus on what's in your hands and let go of the rest. Every day you wake up with a choice. You can complain or take action. You can dwell on what went wrong or focus on what's next. You can give your power away or you can own it. So start asking yourself, what is in my control right now? What can I do with what I have where I am in this moment? Maybe it's taking a small step. Maybe it's adjusting your attitude. Maybe it's reminding yourself that one setback doesn't define the story. Whatever it is, do that. And do it again tomorrow and the day after that. Because when you consistently focus on what you can control, you start to feel more capable, more confident, and more grounded. No matter what life throws at you, this is how you build a life you're proud of. Not by waiting, not by wishing, but by owning your power day by day, decision by decision. That's how you move forward. That's how you grow. And that's how you win. One of the biggest traps we fall into is believing that our past defines us, that the mistakes we've made, the failures we've experienced, the things that didn't go the way we hoped, they somehow become the limit of what we're allowed to do next. But that's not true. Your past is not your potential. Your past is a chapter, not the whole story. And if you keep rereading the same chapter over and over, you'll never move forward to the part where things start getting good. We've all messed up. We've all made decisions we wish we could take back. We've all had times when we felt stuck, lost, or like we weren't good enough. But just because you've been there doesn't mean you have to stay there. The only way your past has power over you is if you keep dragging it into your present. If you keep repeating the same story to yourself. I always screw things up, or I'm not the kind of person who can do this, or I tried before and failed, so why bother? Then of course you're going to feel stuck. That story becomes a cage, and you're the one holding the key. You don't need permission to move forward. You don't need to wait for the perfect conditions or for someone to say, it's your time now. You get to decide that right now. You get to say, I've learned from what happened. I'm stronger because of it. And I'm not going to let it define what I do next. That's what growth looks like. It's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about owning it, learning from it, and refusing to let it control you. There's a reason the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you're headed is more important than where you've been. Yes, glance at the past. Reflect on it, learn from it, but don't stare at it. Don't get stuck in regret. Don't let guilt or shame hold you hostage. You are not your worst decision. You are not the version of yourself that didn't know what you know now. You've grown. You've changed. And you're allowed to become someone new. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to say, I forgive myself. That doesn't mean excusing what you did. It means refusing to carry the weight of it for the rest of your life. It means giving yourself the freedom to try again, to rebuild, to rise, because that's what you deserve. Everyone falls. Everyone fails. But not everyone gets back up. The people who do, the ones who rise, they're not better than you. They just made a different decision. They chose to stop letting the past be the excuse. So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? What story from your past are you using to keep yourself small? Is it a failure, a relationship, a time you gave up too soon? Whatever it is, it happened. It's done. And it doesn't get to steal your future unless you let it. The moment you decide to stop living in the past is the moment you reclaim your power. And that decision, that's 100% in your hands. Start speaking to yourself like someone who's allowed to grow, who's allowed to evolve, who's allowed to rewrite the story. Say to yourself, that version of me did the best they could with what they knew. But I'm not that person anymore. I've got new tools, new awareness, a new level of strength. That kind of self-talk will change your life because it shifts you from stuck to empowered, from victim to creator. Look, you can't change the past, but you can absolutely change the meaning you attach to it. You can choose to see it as proof that you survived, proof that you learned, proof that you're still here and still fighting. And that matters. That means something. The fact that you're still standing means you have more chapters to write. And maybe, just maybe, the most powerful parts of your story haven't even happened yet. So stop living like your best days are behind you. Start acting like they're still ahead, because they are. The past is over. The lessons stay, but the shame doesn't have to. You've got today. You've got right now. And that's more than enough to begin again. Not because everything's perfect, but because you're finally ready to believe that your future doesn't have to look like your past. You're not stuck. You're just early in the process of becoming who you're meant to be. Keep going, keep growing. And whatever you do, don't look back.